Today I'll be discussing with you about the statutory tribunals. But before understanding the statutory tribunals, we have to see what do you mean by statutory bodies. So statutory bodies are established by acts which parliament and state legislature can pass. These bodies are entities shaped by an act of parliament or state legislatures, and it is set up by the government to consider the data and make judgments in some arena of activity. So you see, these bodies are actually shaped by any act of the parliament or the state legislature. Basically, a statutory body is an organization of government which is not demarcated in Constitution of India, but it gets its powers, services, rules, authorities by an act of the parliament or the state legislatures. And they are generally established to perform specific functions which a government considers effectively performed outside a traditional departmental executive structure. They fulfill the requirement for some operational independence from the government funding arrangements that are not dependent on the annual appropriation process or to establish a separate legal body. The statutory bodies are normally set up in countries which are ruled in the parliamentary democracy form of political setup, just as like our India. Under law, statutory bodies are organizations with the authority to monitor the activities of a business and check whether these institutions are legal and follow official rules. For example, the General Medical Council is the statutory body which regulates the doctors. These statutory bodies may be established to permit a certain level of independence form of government, and the government is still accountable to guarantee that taxpayer funds expended in the operation of statutory bodies are spent in the most effective and economic way. These particular bodies are subject to varying degrees of ministerial control, which are identified in the statutory bodies enabling legislation. Ministers are accountable to Parliament for the operation of all government boards and agencies within their portfolios and are necessary to table their annual reports in Parliament. A state representative have authorities for many reasons such as transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and bipartisanship. See, the meaning of this particular statutory body, it may change depending upon the legislation. For example, a local council is not a statutory body for the purpose of Financial Accountability Act, but it is for the purpose of the Statutory Bodies Financial Arrangements Act. All statutory bodies are established and operated under the provisions of their own enabling legislation which sets out the purpose and the specific powers of the agency. The enabling legislation may also include provisions for the levels of fees to be charged for services or products provided by the statutory body, the power of the statutory body to borrow or invest funds, whether the board can delegate powers to officers of the statutory body, and whether the body represents the state. And you see the various example of statutory body, it may be is the university, the UGC, the University Grants Commission. This is a statutory organization which was established by an act of the Parliament in 1956 for the coordination, determination and maintenance of standards of university education. Apart from providing grants to eligible universities and colleges, the Commission also recommends the central and the state governments on the measures which are necessary for the development of higher education. It functions from New Delhi as well as it has 6 regional offices located in Bangalore, Bhopal, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Pune. So you see, this is an example, and there are various important statutory bodies, as you have heard already. NHRC, that is National Human Rights Commission, National Commission for Women, National Commission for Minorities, National Commission for Backward Classes, National Law Commission, National Green Tribunal, National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, Armed Forces Tribunal. So all these are the statutory bodies, and these are created by a statute, by the act of the Parliament or the state legislation. Now see that our preamble, what does it connote? It declares India to be sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and the wisdom of a framer of constitution. These ingredients were essential for what? To establish a society, and that society should be a welfare state. So rule of law and administration of justice, it lie at the core at the phenomena of welfare state. The constitution, you see, by way of preamble, it expressly declares that justice should be ensured to every citizen. And justice doesn't mean social justice, but it means economic and political justice too. And for justice to prevail, it is necessary that most important that the justice delivery system is not only robust but also capable, that is efficient and effective. There is an expeditious disposal of cases. The trial should be speedy, and at the same time the cases must be decided in due process of law. Adherence must be paid to the rule of law. In its ideological sense, the concept of rule of law represents an ethical code for the exercise of public power, the basic postulates of which are equality, freedom, and accountability. See, there must be adherence to the three principles of natural justice you have already studied about. That is audi alteram partem, that means rule of fair hearing. Nemo judex in causa sua, rule against biasness. And third is a reasoned order. Adjudicatory body adjudicating a dispute must give necessary reasons for such adjudication. So you say law is the means, but justice is the end. In a democratic form of government, for justice to prevail, it is necessary that all laws share a common playfield of salus populi as suprema lex. This is a Latin term which means welfare of the people is the supreme law. So you see that justice according to law is different from law in accordance with the justice where the latter prevails. Welfareism flows. Now, so that was a brief introduction about the statutory bodies. Now, what is the term tribunals meant? So, tribunals can be called as a judgment seat or court of justice or board or committee appointed, basically to adjudicate on claims of a particular kind. And this meaning of tribunal can be gathered from various Supreme Court authorities. Therefore, they are adjudicatory bodies constituted by the state and entrusted with judicial and quasi-judicial functions as distinguished from administrative or executive functions. So you see, they are established to adjudicate on claims of a particular kind, and they are entrusted with both judicial and quasi-judicial functions, but it is distinguished from the administrative or executive functions. And tribunals are also being established to provide for speedy disposal of cases. As we know that in India there are lots of piling cases, and the burden is on the judiciary and the judges, and it takes a lot of time. So tribunals are being established to provide for the speedy disposal of cases, and thus it reduces the pressure on the civil courts. And once such tribunal is established, the jurisdiction of the civil court to entertain cases falling within the jurisdiction of the tribunal is bad. One of the main reasons favoring their creation is the delay in the proceedings of the high courts, and tribunals have grown in response to the need to provide for specialist forms of dispute settlement that would possess some expertise and policy commitment and would be comparatively cheaper, more expeditious, and relatively free from technical procedures. And tribunals also came as a substitute for courts when lesser formalism, greater expediency, and better expertise were required in adjudication of disputes. See, Professor Dicey, if you remember, his discourse on rule of law had created a bias against tribunals in the minds of English as well as Indian legal practitioners. In India, due to historical reasons, a unitary system was adopted in which, unlike in France, the tribunals were subjected to superintendence of the ordinary courts. Therefore, even the draft constitution contained reference to tribunals in Article 136 and 227. Under Article 136, the Supreme Court is empowered to entertain an appeal with special leave from tribunals, as you know, SLP. And under Article 227, the High Court has the power of superintendence over the court and the tribunals. So you see, it has a reference of the tribunals in the Constitution itself. And in India, such judicial control is preferred to a separate hierarchy of administrative courts as exists in France. This is obvious from the fact that even though the word tribunal was deleted from Article 227 by the Constitution, because this word has been deleted by the 42nd Amendment, the courts interpreted that the word courts included tribunals for the purpose of judicial superintendence under that article. And by the Constitution 44th Amendment Act, the tribunal was reinstated. You see, it has been deleted. Again, it has been reinstated, the word tribunal. Now, in our Constitution, we have expressly in Articles 323A and 323B. These were added to the Constitution by the 42nd Amendment Act. and these articles empower the parliament and the appropriate legislatures respectively to provide for the adjudication or trial by tribunals of the types of matters mentioned therein. So the tribunals established under Article 323A and 323B have the same status as a High Court, as the appeals from these tribunals can go directly to the Supreme Court under Article 136. Now, what is Article 323A? 323A empowers the Parliament to set up the tribunals for dealing with disputes and complaints with respect of recruitment and conditions of services of persons appointed to public services and post in connection with the affairs of the Union or of any state or of any local or other authority within the territory of India or under the control of the Government of India or of any corporation owned or controlled by the government. So you see, Article 323A, it basically empowers the Parliament to deal with the disputes relating to the services, offices of the services, public services and post. And thus Article 323A provide for the establishment of tribunals for adjudicating disputes relating to the service matters of government servants, namely the administrative tribunals.